Hi everyone, this is Bob Whitaker from History Respawn doing another live stream of Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Um, I am broadcasting on YouTube and I'll have the archive of the stream posted on the History Respawn page on YouTube after I'm finished. This picks up roughly from where I was last night. Last night I was going through the side missions involving Charles Dickens, Charles Darwin, and then Karl Marx. And unfortunately, I had to stop last night after I started a mission with Karl Marx that ended up seeing Karl Marx getting killed twice. A little bit of a sad event, at least. For Karl Marx, for those who appreciate Marx. But tonight I was going to go through some of the story missions, and I am actually about 3/4 of the way through the game at this point, and I wanted to jump into some of the story missions involving Westminster. So this is in sequence 7. Again, this is about 3/4 of the way through the game, and I'm hoping that in some of these missions I'll run into some of the major political figures during this time period, maybe William Gladstone, Benjamin Disraeli, and maybe even Queen Victoria. And these are all characters I haven't seen yet in the game, but I assume are in this game at some point. So again, I'm in sequence 7, about 3/4 of the way through the game. So if you are worried about spoilers, don't necessarily want to see this material yet, then please go ahead and shut this off, so that I don't ruin anything for you. So with that, I'm going to jump in to some of these story missions. So again, this game is set in 1868, like I have been describing in these live streams so far. 1868 is an interesting year for this game to be set in terms of British politics. The Ubisoft, in the trailers for the game and then also in a lot of the game itself, they make a big deal about the political discord in Victorian society at this time. But the thing is that 1868 is actually a year in which a lot of that political discord is beginning to decrease, at least in terms of British domestic politics. And that's primarily because in 1867, the year before this game is set, you have the passage of the Second Reform Act, which expanded the franchise to include a large number of working class men. So while you have a kind of a lessening of tension between the establishment and workers by 1868, you still have a great deal of controversies within British politics that don't necessarily involve the class system. And some of those divisions, they include questions of Britain's role in the world, particularly empire. They involve questions of Britain's role in Ireland. Will Ireland receive home rule? And that is, perhaps the greatest question facing late Victorian society. And then also, you've got some questioning of the monarchy itself in 1867. I think, sorry to break up, but it looks like this is a Jacob mission, so I think I'll switch characters here. You've got some questioning of the monarchy itself because by this point, you've had this general move towards more liberal policies within Britain, policies that are about retrenchment, kind of lowering the amount of money, government interference, and there are some groups, and these groups will become louder in the 1870s, who begin to question whether Britain needs a monarchy at all. Britain has been going through an era of incredible transition during the industrial age. The population is becoming more politically involved. They're less likely to simply accept the judgments of the upper classes. They are also less likely to simply kowtow to the monarchy. But a big part of the criticism of the monarchy at this time is the fact that Queen Victoria herself has become a bit of a social recluse. So all of these things, Empire, Ireland, the role of the monarchy, I'm hoping that Ubisoft has dealt with these a little bit in their in these upcoming missions. So let's jump into this next story mission.
All right, B. Who are you and what's your game?
So this mission is taking place in Westminster. This is the kind of main political district in central London. This is where you'll find the Houses of Parliament. This is where you'll find also the Foreign Office, the Admiralty, most of the major government buildings, 10 Downing Street, where the Prime Minister resides, and then also they've added on Buckingham Palace. So this is where most of the political action in British society occurs. So we're supposed to be meeting, it looks like Benjamin Disraeli in this courtyard for this mission. And Disraeli is a conservative British politician. He is somebody who is kind of a leading force in British politics, despite the fact that up until this point he's been incredibly unsuccessful in gaining high political office. And I'm already messing up this mission, apparently. And it looks like I'm going to have to restart this. Okay, well, unfortunately, this looks like a mission which requires you to be stealthy, but it's not really Jacob Fry's forte. It's really kind of Evie's kind of area of specialization. So I'll have to find a way to be a bit more careful with Jacob here. All right, let's see where it drops me back in. Oh, fantastic.
Well, if it isn't my dear old chum, Mr. Disraeli. Now, Prime Minister, which of your friends is about to stab you in the back?
The Corrupt Practices Bill is a vital step in reforming our government. If the majority party is allowed to dictate the results of contested elections, we can scarcely call ourselves free.
If we yield up our rights bit by bit to the courts, we can scarcely call ourselves free, sir.
This is so like you, Gladstone. You would rather throw your body upon the gears of progress than surrender one iota of power.
By God, Disraeli, you are a fool. I'll not stand idly by and watch you.
Wow, so you've really got to be stealthy in order to follow this conversation. So, from the early looks of it here, it looks like we've got Benjamin Disraeli, the main conservative leader in the Victorian age, talking with William Gladstone. Gladstone is the leader of the Liberal Party. And these are the kind of two main figures in Victorian politics besides Queen Victoria. And they are typically diametrically opposed to one another. Gladstone is a liberal, typically wants to see progress, particularly on the issues involving Ireland, and Gladstone typically also would like to
That isn't my dear old chum,
avoid
Mr. Disraeli.
any kind of
Now,
major
Prime Minister, which of your friends is about to
political
This bill is a vital step in reforming our government. If the majority party is
Gladstone
allowed
would
to
typically
dictate
like
the
to
results
avoid
of
any sort of
contested elections, we can scarcely call ourselves
adventures in empire. And the conservatives would often criticize Gladstone for being what they called a little Englander, somebody who wanted to
You would
avoid
rather throw your body upon the gears of
English
progress than
or
surrender one
British
iota of power.
activities overseas. Whereas Disraeli and most of the conservatives were very supportive of imperialism,
No, certainly
supportive
not.
of
You'd rather return us to the yoke of tyranny.
expanding British
Perhaps
imperialism.
now, Mr. Gladstone, we could repeal Magna Carta and return the crown to the bloody Stuarts.
How dare you, sir? Merely because I do not wish to see government placed in the hands of judges, you would make these slanderous accusations? I'll not stand for it.
Then I shall obviate the requirement. Good evening, sir.
So Gladstone is really kind of in a position of power going forward, in the sense that the Liberals have been enjoying
I presume.
pretty easy general election victories. But that's going to begin to change in the 1870s, where you have Benjamin Disraeli beginning to win victories for the Conservatives in some of these general elections.
Pleasure to meet you. B.
B! My name's Herbert!
And why are you following the Prime Minister?
It's just a job, sir! Some old bloke paid me to...
Oh, well, that was surprising. And we've got a Templar agent who's taken out
Smug bastard.
our spy. Avoid all the sniper shots, okay. Tackle the sniper. Requires us to get up here. One of the things that might make these outdoor levels kind of difficult is the fact that I haven't taken over any territory in Westminster up to this point. And so what that means is that if I'm running around outside, it's going to be more likely that I'm going to run into more stiff resistance from the Templars than I would in another area, which I already controlled. I think this is still one of the worst things about Assassin's Creed games, is their insistence on missions where you're forced to tackle someone. Usually the tackling mechanic is a little wonky, to put it politely. Well, suppose it ended in a fight. That's strange.
Bloody hell! Where'd you come from?
Well, I was born in Crawley, but that's by the by. Who are you working for?
I never got his name. Old chap, big moustache, wore some kind of uniform. Who's ours, maybe?
What's his game?
Please, you'll kill me.
And a 3-story drop will shatter your legs and send you to the workhouse. Difference is you can run from him.
Tomorrow! Oh, my lads are going to attack the Prime Minister's carriage on the way to Parliament.
Perfect.
So, apparently, the assassins are supposed to be siding with Benjamin Disraeli here, which is a little strange because he's the main conservative politician, whereas it looks like the Templars are siding with Gladstone. That might be because Gladstone's policies, at least at this time, seem to be a bit more about retrenching the power of government, allowing for laissez-faire policies, free trade, and that might explain why the Templars are siding with him, because the main main bad guy in here, Steric, is a big proponent of free trade, imperialism. So that could be the reason why, although it is a little strange that in Assassin's Creed you have the assassins supporting a conservative politician. It's kind of odd. But let's see if we can't get on to the next story mission and see what's going to happen. Kind of traversing some of Westminster here. Again, I haven't done any of these side activities in this district, so it's still very much under Templar control. And I'm just gonna skip all of these side activities. I've done so many at this point in so many other districts that I've kind of burned myself out on them. So let's jump over. Let's see. Should probably make sure as to where this mission is before I just go running off in a direction. Okay, so it's pretty far away. Wonder if there's a viewpoint that's a little bit faster. No, there's not. Okay, so we'll keep running. Again, one of the great new additions about this game is the inclusion of the rope launcher, which I think was directly stolen from games like Batman, the Rocksteady's series of Batman games, but I think it's a really welcome addition to this game, and I think, you know, it's kind of not as good as the Batman grappling hook in the Rocksteady game, so you can kind of forgive it a bit for maybe being a 19th century equivalent of the Batman grappling hook, the rope launcher. Jump across here. Let's see how close I can get. Maybe I can hook myself right onto that building over there. Nope, looks like I'll have to go in between. There's a good look at Palace of Westminster, also known as the Houses of Parliament. Again, that makes for one of the more interesting climbs in the game. So we're gonna jump over here, and it looks like we're going into the Horse Guard building. Let's see. Well, it might be past this. Oh, yeah, it's right over there. Okay. So we've gotten a database entry. I'm just gonna jump into the database here to see what is the addition here. Encyclopedia, location, Westminster, Foreign Office, Green Park. So I think, pretty sure that we were at the Horse Guard Cavalry. The Horse Guards, kind of the main bodyguards for Houses of Parliament, for the government in London, also to a certain extent for the royalty, and kind of a old traditional wing of the British Army that is, you know, highly trained, but also, you know, part of the army that is very much kind of cloaked in ritual and old traditions. Right, so Jacob is going to warn the Prime Minister about the threat to his life. Question him to the identity of the man uniform B. Interesting. Okay, we'll see. Looks like we're going to be defending Disraeli here.
So much for the house call. I have to find a way into that carriage.
Gonna jump down in there. Let's see if I can get down there without notifying anybody. Again, it's really odd that some of these missions are about Jacob sneaking because this is what he's really bad at. And even my version of Jacob, which has gotten some upgrades in stealth, is not really cut out for this type of work. And as you can tell, I've already got about 20 police officers on my tail down there. I've got to wait until they cool off before I can come back. In older versions of Assassin's Creed, there used to be hiding places built along top of buildings, and some of these were error specific. Some of them were not. I mean, remember in Assassin's Creed 2 and in Brotherhood, they had used to have haystacks on top of buildings, which don't make any sense whatsoever. And in these kind of newer Assassin's Creed games like Unity and Syndicate, they don't have those same hiding places anymore on top of buildings, which I think is a good concession to historical accuracy, but I'm sure it saves Ubisoft a lot of time in development, being able to avoid having to put all those things, all those touches into it. Let's see, there is a haystack over here. I might be able to jump into one of these. Yeah, I definitely agree. It is an odd mission description. Gosh, again, this is awful. Let's see if I could just get into this. Nope, gotta be anonymous. How annoying. Oh my gosh. Oh, jeez. Well, I'm not sure why I have to be inside of the carriage. That's one of the things that's bothering me here. Jump up here. Oh my gosh. Well, I'll be restarting this one. It seems to me like the police in this game and the guards in general are much more accurate than they used to be in previous Assassin's Creed games. And I should mention the Prime Minister there was being defended by members of the London Metropolitan Police. They were dressed in blue uniforms. And those police officers, you might say, you know, it's not common today for London Met officers to be armed. In fact, they're known for being unarmed in general, but at this time in the 1860s, particularly if you were part of the detective branch, it was still very common for British police officers to carry firearms. Alright, let's see if I can't make this happen for once. Alright, so I just don't see another way to get down there. I'm going to watch the guards here for a little bit just to make sure I'm not missing something. These three guards right here, these seem to be the ones that are triggering the attack. And they must have eyes in the back of their head because they're all facing the other direction. Okay, so these two guards are the ones who are causing me trouble, it looks like. Yeah, definitely very common for the Irish, or for the, not for the Irish, for, sorry, very common for the British police, London police to be armed.
Who the devil are you?
Prime Minister,
Certainly
I'm your
by
new bodyguard.
the
Jacob Fry.
1860s,
Bodyguard?
it wasn't common for everyday police.
Dizzy?
Mary Ann Disraeli, here we go.
Madam, apologies.
Ooh.
We've learned of a threat.
A street thug touching the wife of the Prime Minister. That is a big no-no.
What sort of threat? That sort. If you excuse me a moment.
Okay, so we've got into the carriage simply to get right back out again. That is a bit annoying. Okay, let's see if I can't use the rope launcher to get up here. So anyways, what I was saying about the London police, it would have been uncommon at this time for an average bobby on the beat to go unarmed, or to go armed, but for detectives, for sergeants and above, it would have been very common for them to have some sort of pistol, and in some cases some sort of rifle, while they were working. There we go. Okay. Oh, we've got more attackers coming. This is a proper assassination attempt. So again, it's incredibly odd to me that the assassins are fighting to save the life of a conservative politician. That seems to stand against everything that the assassins represent, but whatever. Oh, I see. I missed these two guys. It's a bit more of an intense fight than I was expecting. Okay, is that it?
See here! What's all this?
Not so fast, Your Excellency.
Wait, there's two more? I felt like I killed everybody on the street. Oh, I see. I was busy. Ah. Great. Now this has turned into a carriage chase. Just what this mission needs. Yeah, clambers into Prime Minister's carriage and is automatically trusted. But yeah, I feel the same way. As you can see, my driving technique leaves a lot to be desired. It's still difficult for this American to get used to driving on the left-hand side of the road. But thankfully, the city streets are kind of ahistorically very wide, so it's pretty forgiving for mistakes like that. There we go. Not too bad.
We seem to have come through unscathed. You have our thanks, Mr. Fry.
It was Gladstone. I bet my life on it. This is perfectly in keeping with his distinct lack of character.
Disraeli's got some choice words there for Gladstone.
Well, he's hardly going to be in the van with a cudgel, is he?
So what's interesting about this portrayal of Disraeli and Gladstone, the rivalry here, is that the thing is that they disagreed heavily on things like empire. They disagreed a lot on the question of Ireland, but by and large, when it came to the major reforms of the Victorian era, particularly the 1867 Reform Bill, these two were largely in agreement, and this kind of violent rivalry between the two comes across as a bit odd.
A gentleman with ties to Parliament, older, wears cavalry uniforms and has a large moustache.
You seem like a rough and ready sort of fellow, Mr. Fry.
Well, yes I am, actually.
Now we've got Jacob flirting with Benjamin Disraeli's wife. Okay.
Wonderful. As it happens, I've been eager to tour the Devil's Acre. If you were to escort me, I'd be happy to assist you in your inquiry.
That strikes me as a dangerous idea.
Then it's settled. Come back here to Downing Street tomorrow night, 8 o'clock sharp. Good day, Mr. Fry.
But I...
Good day, Mr. Fry.
This is all incredibly odd. I just don't know. I'm almost speechless here. Uh, thank God this mission's over. That's what I would say. Okay, well let's take a look at the database entries for these people. We've got a new list of allies. We've got Benjamin and Marianne Disraeli. Benjamin Disraeli, one of the things that kind of makes him really interesting is the fact that he's of Jewish descent. And he is somebody that faced quite a bit of anti-Semitic attacks in Britain at this time. It's one of the things that kind of plays into a lot of Disraeli's character as far as, how he presents himself. He tends to present himself as extremely what they would call at the time anglicized in order to overcome this kind of anti-Semitism. And the thing with anti-Semitism is it was not just a continental problem. It was something that was very common throughout the British world, particularly in Ireland and also in Scotland. So Disraeli is an interesting figure, not only because of his politics, but also because of his Jewish background. So it does have some reference here. Jewish-born prime minister, and later on in the 20th century, people would kind of use Disraeli and the election of Disraeli as an example of how progressive the British state was in the 19th century to kind of counterpose it against what was going on with anti-Semitism in Germany and on the continent. But really, the British were almost just as anti-Semitic at this time in the 19th century as some of the major continental powers. So we got some questions over here. John's bringing up the fact that the Disraeli-Gladstone rivalry is always put into context of the Irish question, and that's definitely true. I would say that's common with British history courses in the United States as well, because the Irish question is the question of home rule. Will Ireland be allowed to rule themselves under kind of the British monarchy within the Commonwealth? And Gladstone is somebody who comes out in support of Irish Home Rule. Disraeli is somebody who is, again, interested in maintaining British imperial control, not interested in supporting the establishment of Ireland as anything close to an independent state. So this divide between Disraeli and Gladstone, it's really fierce over Ireland. But like I said, on other issues, particularly on the issues of reform and domestic British politics, you might even say domestic English politics, there is a great deal of consensus between these two. And so to see this game portray this as kind of a bloodthirsty rivalry is really strange. And then John also brings up the Fenians. The Fenians were a group of Irish extremist terrorists who began to operate in the early 1860s. And they were, some of them were working towards Irish independence. Some of them were working towards Irish home rule within the British Empire. But regardless, they were attempting to use violent means in many circumstances to overthrow the established British control of Ireland. And as far as I could tell, John, there is no reference to the Fenians at this point, even though in 1867, 1868, you have several dynamite attacks by Irish Fenians throughout Britain, also in London. So maybe that's something that comes up later in the game. I would have figured you would have seen it already, but who knows? We'll see. Yeah, so Peter brings up the fact the Fenians were a bit later. No, definitely early 1860s was when the Fenians began to operate within Ireland. And then by the late 1860s, you have Fenian attacks being operated in London in particular, as well as some other major metropolitan areas within Britain. In the 1870s, you get Fenian attacks in places like Liverpool and Manchester, continuation of Fenian attacks throughout England on the 1870s. And then also, what's interesting is the Fenians begin to kind of expand their range of attacks. Not necessarily attacks, I shouldn't say that, but begin to expand the range of their contacts abroad, looking for support. And so there was quite a bit of Fenian activity and Fenian fundraising occurring in the United States. And this is something that would carry over from the Fenians to the development of the IRA in the 20th century, where the Irish nationalists look for the support of the Irish diaspora in the United States, in Canada, in order to try to build up some momentum for Irish home rule in the 19th century, and then by the 20th century, Irish independence. So fascinating that there's a full biography here of Mary Ann Disraeli. I've got to say I don't know much of anything about her, but I guess maybe we'll find out more. It does make mention here in 1868, wanted to raise Disraeli to the nobility. Huh, interesting. Okay, so she takes the title of Viscountess, but Disraeli does not. And of course, it's saying here that Queen Victoria is a big supporter of Disraeli, and that's definitely true. They had a pretty close relationship, and this was primarily because of Disraeli's politics. He was somebody, conservative politician. The Queen, the monarchy in general, were supportive of the Tories and their ideas regarding, kind of retrenchment at home in domestic politics. And then also expansion of British influence abroad through empire, and these were kind of the twin legs of Disraeli's role as prime minister. So let's get back into this mission. I suppose we're going to be working with Mary Ann Disraeli, which is again just a fascinating inclusion into this game. Don't mind me, I'm just jumping down 10 Downing Street on the windowsills. Driving Mr. Is that... Oh my gosh, is that a corgi inside of a purse? Well, that is pretty remarkable. That has to be a first in video games, as far as I know. I'm gonna snap a picture of that. I think it's something my wife would enjoy seeing later on. Again, speaking as a historian, I have no idea when dogs in purses as a thing began. So, but apparently, the historical advisors for Ubisoft decided to set this in the Victorian age.
Devil's Acre should just be coming alive.
I'm afraid I must cancel our engagement. The lawn is crawling with scandal-hunting journalists, and I simply cannot be seen in the company of someone so...
I'll see them off. You follow along when it's clear.
Yes, yes. Be gentle, won't you? The press are notoriously touchy about any violence to their person.
Ha 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 ha. I'll barely ruffle a hair on their heads.
Shh, Desmond.
So it's interesting. I have no, again, I don't know very much at all about Marianne Disraeli, but it's interesting that they've decided to give her a corgi in a purse. Corgis are now kind of associated with the British ruling class, particularly the monarchy. Current Queen Elizabeth is famous for having two corgis living in her house, living in Buckingham Palace. I shouldn't say her house, but again, a dog that's associated with the kind of establishment of the modern British state. So distract the reporters with a nearby paper girl. Where is the paper girl? So these are the reporters with their obnoxiously huge cameras. Is this the paper girl? Oh no, that's Marianne Disraeli. Sorry, excuse me, madam. Paper girl. Is this her?
That's yours, if you can get those chaps over there to follow me.
Right you are, sir.
I suppose I must be handing out money? I don't know. My hand looks empty there.
Blimey! Look! It's Squire Bancroft!
Best lead them astray before they tear me to shreds.
Mr. Bancroft! Mr. Bancroft! What's coming up next for the Prince of Wales?
Alright, here we go. We're trying to lead these journalists astray a little bit. This is a very strange mission. A lot of these side missions, and this is a main story mission, but a lot of the side missions in this series have been kind of really odd, even for Assassin's Creed. Okay, I think that might have done enough to get away. Let me jump back down and reach the carriage.
Neatly done, young man. Dizzy ought to keep you on to deal with the Liberals.
Devil's Acre. Okay, here we go.
In the cart, it's the Prime Minister's wife.
Oh boy.
Must not be seen here, Mr. Fry.
More escaping through carriage rides. This is kind of disappointing for Assassin's Creed because I don't know, these type of missions where you're escorting someone, where you're trying to save a runaway carriage. These are kind of the things that you would expect from, say, a GTA game from, I don't know, 2003. And it's a little bit disappointing that Ubisoft decided to simply take those type of missions and insert them here into Assassin's Creed. But there it is. There you have it. Take a sharp left here. And here we go. Do not get detected by the thugs in the slum, okay.
What a rough place. Give me your arm, Mr. Fry. Let us see what the Devil's Acre has to offer.
So, Marianne Disraeli, we're going into a rough part of town here, and it seems like this is kind of following one of the tropes of high Victorian society at the time, which is when approaching danger. Interesting. Okay. Well, thank you, little Desmond. But this is one of the tropes of high-class Victorian society this time, to go slumming, particularly through areas like Whitechapel. And part of the reason why Victorians did this was because they were interested in seeing how the other half lived, how the lower classes lived, and in particular to do some field work for philanthropy. But the thing is that, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to assassinate these guys or not, but anyways, but this kind of slumming, this going through a rough neighborhood with an escort,
Desmond, what's got into you?
it was something that kind of represented not necessarily the care or concern with the lower classes, but really the paternalism of the British higher classes.
Occupy themselves, isn't it?
Very industrious, I'm sure.
Your pardon,
Shall we
Bishop?
go?
I thought that was the Eucharist.
I'm so sorry. I have no earthly idea what you're talking about.
Mrs. Disraeli.
This mission is ludicrous.
Oh, yes. I've just learned to whistle.
Right.
But these, oh gosh, I hope I haven't entered a failed state for this game. Or this mission, I should say. But these slumming encounters between the rich and the poor, typically the lower classes would have been looking to take advantage of the rich as they came through the neighborhood, maybe pickpocketing them or begging for money. And then also another common thing was for these rich individuals going through poor neighborhoods like Whitechapel to be escorted by the police, sometimes with armed police officers who were moonlighting, doing the work while they were off hours as police. Let's see if we can't get through here. Well, I don't know if Mrs. Disraeli can climb through a window, so I think I'm going to turn back. Oh.
What's he doing here?
Well, as you can see, the AI in this game really hasn't improved that much.
Charming dog. Best not to ask.
Why? Is it something dreadful? Is it rat?
Here we are. The old one-ton pub. Best beer in the Devil's Acre. I don't mean to be
Marvelous.
indelicate, given the present.
And I'm wondering
This
if
is a pint,
the dog
is it?
gets a pint as well.
Remarkable.
Nice doggy.
Oh no. Oh, the horror. Well, we've got to save Desmond. I wonder, I mean, it's kind of funny to me, but of course Desmond was the name of the modern day protagonist for the Assassin's Creed series. All the way up to Assassin's Creed 3. I wonder if the developers at Ubisoft are trying to make some reference obliquely to Desmond through this dog. Who knows? I'm probably just overthinking it at this point.
Good boy, Desmond. Hand over the mutt.
You'll change your tune when me and my friends find you.
Now then, Desmond, to get you back to your mistress, whom I've just left entirely unattended in one of London's most dangerous pubs.
Okay, well, we saved Desmond, thank God. I don't think we could have handled losing the
Well,
dog.
if you never told your father how you felt about him, how was he supposed to know?
I never thought of it that way. I suppose deep down we all just want to be loved.
Just so. Here, have a sweetie. Oh, Desmond and Mr. Fry, I'd like you to meet... Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
John the Tosser.
Charmed. I think we better get you home.
Right you are, Mr. Fry. Come along, Desmond.
Well, fascinating material here. Again, I think I'll be spending part of my evening tonight looking up dogs and
Well,
purses in a historical context.
If it isn't the dog walker.
Now, let's not do something we'll regret.
So John asks, what was hygiene like in the slums at this time? How was it compared with how the elites were living? So, thanks to the work of people like Florence Nightingale, Charles Dickens, and other philanthropy society, there'd been a lot of attention by the 1860s on the issue of hygiene. And this was something that was taken up by the government to a certain extent, but really a lot of the heavy lifting was done by British interest groups, philanthropic organizations that were run by the elites. And, you know, at this time you've got a general understanding that the health of the higher classes, the entire society, was only as strong as the weakest link. So if the lower classes, if they were spreading diseases such as cholera, tuberculosis, and, you know, various other ailments, then it was only a matter of time before those sorts of things would reach the higher classes. So, and of course, you know, with the economic activity that's going on within London, it's impossible to keep these sorts of, these ailments, these diseases from spreading. So, you know, it used to be, you know, back in the Middle Ages, even the early modern period, you could simply close off some of the bridges on the Thames, preventing the lower classes from moving from South London into North London, where most of the government class, ruling class, were located. You can't do that in the Victorian era, and of course, by this point, you've got a better understanding of medicine that, you know, it has begun to filter through all of British society, understanding, you know, that there's a relationship between hygiene and good health. So, on the whole, you know, life expectancy during this era is going up for everybody in the population. And in addition, you've also got, I think I'll take care of these criminals. See if I can save this guy. But you've got a general increase in the quality of life for everybody. So, you know, from the 1840s, when you've got the Chartist movement, until 1870, you see a near doubling of real wages for all Britons, not just the elites, but the working class as well. And these sorts of things allow people to spend more money on what were once seen as luxuries, and that includes things like medicine and general health care. And, you know, for the working classes at this time, again, it's one of the interesting things about this game is that they kind of, Ubisoft has doubled down on this idea of there's being this real big class war at this time. But again, by the 1868, by the 1870s in particular, you know, this class war has really been mitigated to a certain extent by the reform bills, by the reforming nature of Victorian society. All right, let's see. So I'm about 173 meters away, I guess. Must be in the Houses of Parliament. Let me just see if I can just go run over there. Not necessarily even using the rope launcher. So the question I just got: why couldn't you do that in the Victorian era? What I don't know. I'm sorry, I've been kind of blabbing. I don't know what you're referring to in particular. So if you could restate that, then I could could try to answer. Let's see, it looks like... Gotta go to the top. So this is... looks like this is part of Westminster Abbey. And we've got the Houses of Parliament across the street. And Westminster Abbey, it is the site for coronation of English kings and queens. Queen Victoria was coronated here in 1837. Westminster Abbey also serves as kind of the burial site for many famous Britons, and including later on Charles Dickens, actually, when he dies in 1870. And the Abbey is typically seen as kind of the, one of the main tourist attractions in London, not just because of it's important to the monarchy, but also because of its importance in terms of the buried bodies there. So Jacob plans to assassinate the Earl of Cardigan. Interesting. Okay, well, let's see how this go. Oh, okay, so the question was, why couldn't you quarantine the working classes from the elites in order to stop the spread of diseases like they did? Well, the reason is because the working class population housed not only the residences of the working classes, but also most of the factories. So it would have been difficult to keep the British elites, the London elites that owned those factories, from going into those areas. And then also you had a number of the servants that worked in the elite areas of the city who lived in the poor areas. And really these elites couldn't exist, their lifestyles couldn't exist without those house servants working in their homes, taking care of their children, and then also doing their laundry. And really, I mean, the role of the house servants is something that's incredibly important for the maintenance of Victorian society. It allows for the increased quality of life, not just for the elites, but also for the working class to a certain extent, because being a house servant, even though it's a job that we might consider demeaning today, it was a big step up for a large number of people in the lower classes. It allowed them to reach the lower middle class, maybe even the middle class within their lifetime. So when we see things like Downton Abbey, we tend to look at that lifestyle as being somewhat demeaning. But again, from where lower class Britons start out in the early 19th century compared to what they have in the Edwardian era with Downton Abbey, their lifestyle is incredibly improved. So it's all about context. All right, let's see. So, got to kill the minister. There's a unique kill opportunity. Corrupt policeman, a politician. So, this is one of the assassination missions, and there's already been 6 previous to this in the game so far. This is the assassination mission that ends sequence 7, and these assassination missions, they call back to the first Assassin's Creed game, where you had to set up your kill before you get executed. But the thing about these missions is that they don't really allow you a lot of freedom in how you approach it. I mean, you can decide, which entrance you could go into. But again, like you see here, it's kind of almost like a checklist of things you have to do in order to finish off the assassination with perfect synchronization. And so I think it's a little bit limiting, because I would say in other open world games you get a bit more of a bit more choice into how you approach things, which this version of Assassin's Creed at least doesn't really give you that kind of choice. Yeah, so why are we killing the minister? So the minister is attempting to threaten the political career and the life of Benjamin Disraeli, who's being supported by the assassins. And Disraeli, it's not really explained as to why Disraeli is an ally of the assassins. Again, he's a conservative politician, and it's a little unclear as to why the game makers of Ubisoft decided to pick Disraeli as the member of British politics that the assassins would support. And as to why the Templars are going after Disraeli, I have no idea. It has not really been explained. Kidnap the policeman. Great. Okay. What is the other? Speak to the politician. Okay. So we've got a couple of side activities that we can do in order to make the assassination easier. And we've got to do this without getting detected by the target. So let's see. I'm going to try to kidnap the police officer first. That's the most difficult of these two objectives. Yeah. The assassins were huge fans of the Corn Laws. Yeah, exactly. Okay, there he is. Again, these assassination missions are a little bit strange with Jacob, simply because he's not really geared towards the use of stealth. Well, that's not going to go well. Let's see, I'll run out of here and try to reset this part. Another thing that's interesting about this version of Assassin's Creed is that the enemies, the security guards, are not as adept as previous games in running up buildings, grappling on to to the sides of buildings, and also scaling up after buildings after you. And I don't really know why that is. I mean, it seemed a pretty common part of the series. At least in the early iterations, Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, and even Assassin's Creed 3. But in this game, if you can jump up a building and scale it pretty quickly, you don't usually have to worry about any of the guys. Yeah, as is typical of Ubisoft, especially recently, they've really done their homework with these buildings. Houses of Parliament, in particular, look fantastic. I'd say, with regards to the quote, the level design reminds me of a more artificial Dishonored. Dishonored is kind of a game that I think shares a lot of similarities, carries over a lot of themes with Victorian history. And I think that's definitely a game that I've been kind of considering doing for an episode of History Respawned. Alright, so I can't stand this. Having to try to use stealth with Jacob is really not easy. Again, this is kind of more Evie's forte. I think it's one of the best things about this game is that you have the opportunity of having two different character builds. That, you know, if you don't particularly enjoy playing as a rogue, you know, kind of a fighting character, well, then you can attack it as a stealth character instead. And I got picked up. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to complete this part of it. This is just too annoying for me. Whoops. Let me try to at least go and speak to this guy instead. Might be a bit easier. So I see one entry point. I wonder if there's one down here as well. No, there's not. Okay, well, let's go to the other side of the building then.
It will be obliged to have recourse, not to one, but to several expedients.
See, jump over to the other side. Might be a good opportunity to kidnap that guy. Doing it inside the building rather than outside. Probably should have thought of that before.
The truth is that, however possible it may be for committees of this House to be impartial on the question to whom the seat shall be awarded, and I do not deny they are often inclined to suspect that nor is it hopeless that they might be always. Nobody outside this House, and I think I may almost add in it, when I get my fix on you, you'll wish you'd come quietly in this House, and
Well, these police officers are incredibly vigilant here. Oh my gosh. So it says I'm supposed to follow this guy, but he hasn't been moving at all yet. Jeez. Well, I'm not supposed to kill any police officers. I'm going to try to live up to that part of the bargain. This mission is really giving me fits. I haven't had this much difficulty with any other assassination missions up to this point, and of course, I wait to this one to live stream. But you get a lovely look here of all the different parts of the House of Parliament here, so That's not all bad. Obviously, somebody's taking great care on doing all the detail here. All of the wonderful stained glass, in particular, in the House of Commons. So it looks pretty good. All right. Now that the crisis is over, and I think all of the police officers are now dead. Not by my hand, of course. I can now jump down here without any trouble.
It shows a sense that in order to put down this great evil, it is necessary to go out of the common path.
So I'm supposed to follow him, but he's not going anywhere. This might just be a hopeless endeavor.
The truth is,
Okay, let me wait for this other guy to come back, and I'll kidnap him.
impartial on the question to whom the seat shall be awarded. What's wrong?
Actually, I don't think there's any guards out here looking after him. Those two police officers who are dead in the middle of the hallway must have been the two that were outside of this door earlier.
I just need to get inside. No need for this to get messy.
All right, all right.
So that's it with him? That's just inside here? This whole thing was just to get me inside this room. And I can get in with that. Oh, this is... Okay. Alright. I can't believe that. I cannot believe that. There's another entrance right up there. Why do I... Ridiculous. Unless there's another area I need to get to? I don't think so. Maybe I should go over to this other guy. Before I take this police officer out, maybe I should go to this other guy and see if I need the police officer to follow him. Nope. Everybody's looking at me in horror as I have this guy in a wrist lock. Okay, so now I'm going to take him behind this partition and knock him out with a chokehold. There we go. Oh, I thought I was going to leave him on the couch there, but unfortunately it didn't work out. Alright, so now can I follow this guy? Oh my gosh. Well, here I was thinking that Assassin's Creed Syndicate didn't have as many bugs as Assassin's Creed Unity, but it appears that this quest, this assassination mission might be a little buggy. Although perhaps the politician is horrified by the fact that he just witnessed the deaths of two police officers in the House of Parliament, and then also saw me choke out a police officer in front of him. Let's see if this does anything. So I've already spoke to him, and it's still giving me the follow order. But once again, there's no movement on his part. Maybe if I stepped away from him a bit. Nothing. Okay, well, I'll just keep going, see if I can't find my way to the target's office.
And I am bound to believe it is. However little credit they receive for such earnestness out of doors, I apprehend it will be...
Yeah, exactly. They don't freak out about the dead cops. So let's see. I wonder where he is. He must be up above somewhere. At least that's my guess.
Nevertheless, I think favorably of the bill, because it certainly does in reality only one thing. That bill is a vigorous one, and shows the adequate sense of the emergency. It does make sense that...
There's not really many hiding spots in here, so I'm just going to go ahead and use some of these hallucinogenic darts to get some of these Templars to kill themselves. And unfortunately, this guy is going to come rounding right around the corner, it looks like. There he goes. Now he's going off to fight those guys. The hallucinogenic drugs, at least in the older games, they used to have a limited shelf life in terms of how long they'd last, but on this game they seem to last as long as the target is still alive. Lockpick skill 2. Let's see, actually I think I might have enough skill points to develop lockpick skill 2. I do. There we go. Apparently it just leads into another courtyard. Fantastic. Just what I wanted. Usually with these assassination missions, they give you a good sense of where the target is located. But they haven't done that so far in this mission, unless I just can't see them from where I am at the base level. A lot of open corridors here, not many places to hide. Don't mind me, I'm just in here murdering Templars. It used to be the case, I'd say, in earlier games where if you got detected by one Templar, you would usually have to restart the mission, but these newer games are a little bit more forgiving with the degree of stealth that you have to maintain in order to keep up with the mission. So I don't know if this actually leads to anything. Doesn't look like it. I think the objective has to be near all of these guards. At least that's what I'm assuming. So usually the target is outlined in gold somewhere, and he's just not here. I have no idea what's going on. The famous British Reserve for all the bystanders there. Yeah, that's right. They're so caught up in their own Britishness that they can't intrude on these murders that are taking place. It would be great if there was some sense of direction here. There's the politician who wouldn't budge. There he is. Gotta say, I'm a little disappointed that I chose this mission to livestream because it has turned out to be probably, I'd say, no, it's easily the worst assassination mission that I've run into so far.
Disraeli supporters are rallying in the wake of the assassination attempt on Cardigan. To oppose the bill at this stage would be folly. Shame! Shame!
Where would we have been at Balaclava?
Password.
We turned our coats at the first sign of difficulty. Lined against the wall and
Baby
shot.
apple.
Piss off.
Deservedly so.
Christ, not Balaclava again.
Let's see if I can track this guy down without having to fight too many of the others. It looks like I'm going to have to fight quite a few guys here. There it goes. Oh, what a disaster. I'm sorry you had to watch that.
Coward! Villain! Alas, that the hero of Balaclava should fall not on the gloried fields of Crimea, but to an assassin's blade in the very halls of power.
Are you finished yet?
Take your bow, knave, for you have managed what no Russian battery, what no Indian tiger could achieve. Claim your trophy, and may you choke on it.
Yes, but do tell me more about Balaclava.
Farewell. Farewell, dear Britannia. Your dawn shall be dimmer that the Earl of Cardigan sees it not. God save the Queen and the 11th Hussars.
So John asked, they're talking about protests. What relationship do popular protests and actual parliamentary debate have at this time in British history? So the British parliamentarians, especially in the 1860s, are very well aware of the need to at least, if not give in to protest demands, to at least be in the appearance that they are listening to those demands. And they are making an effort in this regard primarily because of their fear, the concern with the revolutions that are going on in the continent. So, in places like Germany and in France, there's been huge amounts of political upheaval because of the ruling class's unwillingness to concede to any demands made by the public at large. So the British, in what can only be judged to be incredible foresight, attempted to head off these type of protests by instituting small reforms, particularly beginning in the 1830s, going into the 1840s, 50s, and 60s, instituting small periodic reforms in order to kind of gain the acquiescence of the working class and the middle class in particular. And this was, part of the big success of the Liberal Party under Gladstone, is that they were closely aligned with the wishes of the new British middle class that had developed in the industrial era. And so their ability to kind of popularize middle class reforms, middle class ideas, while still maintaining traditional power bases in the aristocracy, is one of the more remarkable things about the 19th century. Not just British history, but European history. So I hope that answers your question with regards to popular protest. Yeah, I agree. The post-death scenes are a lot more like the first game, where you have these long dialogues with the person that you are assassinating. Although, and yeah, like you said, in this game, the person being killed is kind of delivering this what you might call a Shakespearean soliloquy uh, to the assassin. While they're in the midst of dying, it's a really strange thing. Uh, so okay, I think that mission was awful. There's really no way to put it. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and use the rating system to give that a 1 star. So that does it for this live stream here. I'm going to knock off for the evening. I think I'm going to pick up with more streaming tomorrow night. Again, if it's your first time watching, I run a YouTube station called History Respawned. And I will periodically post live streams as well as regular episodes of the show that feature long-length interviews with guest historians. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, please subscribe to our YouTube station. And thanks for joining me tonight.
Like he was so bloody special. To me, he just was.